just click on an off. Test.
You're right.
I probably have, paper.
Then I know to get it. Take a report.
No, I carry a screwdriver.
Right. Right.
Might just be a little smarter.
Yeah.
All right.
If we can't, then we'll do it.
Cheers.
We'll be starting in about 1 minute, so Danny, if you got the sign-up sheet there, thanks. One needs to address the board tonight, we need for them to get their name on the sign-up sheet. As we start, I'm gonna ask everyone to please make sure your phone is in some type of silent or vibrate mode, so it won't be distracted. So it's 7 o'clock, so I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Will everyone please rise and join me in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Allison, roll call.
Dave Brutlock,
Here.
Joe Boyd,
Here.
Kevin Kelly, Bill Morris,
Here.
Morris here, Ashley Richard here, Natalie Shoemaker here.
Right, next item on our agenda is the consent agenda items. It's all items considered to be routine and non-controversial. It includes the minutes from our last meeting, the minutes from our closed session meeting, and payment of the bills. And did we get the financial statements?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so were there any questions on the minutes of the financial statements? If not, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second? Any final questions or discussions? Olson, roll call vote?
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kevin Kelly, Bill Morris,
Yes.
Ashley Richard,
Yes.
Natalie Shoemaker.
Yes.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is a citizens hearing. There is a 5-minute time limit. Olson, who has signed up?
Kathy Brooks is first.
All right, Kathy Brooks.
Kathy Brooks, 11 South Plain Street, Hudson. Okay, there was I actually utilized the quill, which I appreciate the village sending out to the residents. And in it, I read that last meeting, there was a discussion on a 1% sales tax for the village. But it didn't list anything as, number one, as to why it would do that, or if it was earmarked for something in particular.
Lynn, would you like to answer that?
Yeah. Yep, it's just something we're starting to look at right now. We're working on getting all of like the projection as what that 1% would look like financially for the village, and also get numbers for what we would want or need to spend it on. This just came up that we could do an increase without a referendum, but we would still want to hold public meetings so that everybody know what our intentions are and what it does look like for the village.
Okay,
Before we vote, so we have time. We're not doing it right now. We're not gonna slide it in like sneakily. We are just working on getting all that information right now. So once we have more information, we'll present it at another meeting, and I have probably additional meetings about it.
Okay. The second thing was the Dollar General sidewalk between what's on the township and their actual driveway, that chunk that's the trip hazard, you know, the death trap. Has anybody been working on that or looking into it or whatever?
I've had several calls into Dollar General that have not been returned. I know at least one handicapped resident has contacted them and did not get anything close to a satisfactory response from them. So I guess our next step, Danny, would you agree, our next step would be to contact our attorney to see what we can do. Nothing else, I would be willing to build it and build Dollar General for the owner of the building.
Yeah, it's just like I said, a handicapped person, kids on bikes and, you know, just bad situations.
It's not forgotten. We haven't had any success getting it done, but it's not forgotten.
And to jog everybody's memory, why that was done like that was per our engineer, didn't want to cut the curb and dump the sidewalk traffic right there kind of at the intersection that kids would be riding their bicycles right out into that, not paying attention to the traffic turning in. And he said the best thing to do for a traffic safety driveway entrance standpoint is for the sidewalk to head south along the curb and go down there more parallel to, or go parallel to the store. And once they got even with the store, have a sidewalk go straight west to the store, then that would be kind of out of the general flow of the traffic. Well, all that work is on their property. So that's why his recommendation to me was to stop there. And we had a talk with the store manager at that time. This is what we were doing, and that request was put in, and you can see where that went.
But it's just extremely common in any city that the sidewalks just go along the road, and yes, they entered into I mean, the engineer really thought we shouldn't just have it go right there, you know, to cut the curbing. I don't understand that at all, because what in any city, that's exactly how the sidewalks work. So that's just weird. We don't want to put gravel there, because then like you're liable if someone falls. Is that why we don't want the gravel, you know? We don't have pack on the line, I guess.
Well, that section, that entire piece, it's Dollar General property.
I understand that, but right now it's just like a drop off. So if a kid rides off of there and breaks his leg, it's not us, huh? It's Dollar General.
I assume so,
I
but
mean, it's
I don't
pretty
know. That's-
crazy what's there right now. Yeah.
That's why I'm bringing this up.
I remember Pat saying, don't touch it, because then you're liable, but it's just like,
That's on.
oh, John.
Yeah, so if it's not on our property, if it ends at their property and the next step needed is on their property, we would have to get right of way dedicated from them before we could make any improvements there. So we can.
What there's right now is the sidewalk just stops, and it's, you know, it's inches, and then there's a big hole, the curbing for the driveway. I mean, could we even put gravel in there, or if we put gravel in there, so someone couldn't fall at least, then we're liable because we did something, or what?
No, I mean, you're not made more liable by taking action, by attempting to take remedial action. But does the sidewalk, did I understand the sidewalk stops basically at their property?
Yes.
It stops right away at their property line versus the township's property line. So if we were to continue the sidewalk straight to the driveway entrance, it would all be in the right of way. And Patrick Meyer just felt that a better place to dump the foot traffic and bicycle traffic would be for them to go onto their property down toward the store, so the foot traffic was not entering the driveway. So that was his recommendation to where to stop, so that's where we stopped at.
While I don't disagree with Patrick's position, having dealt with Dollar General before, Dollar General doesn't own the store. They lease the store. The company builds it. They sell it off. The probability of getting anyone to invest the money or to even pay this mind is it's infinitesimal odds. I would suggest the sidewalk be extended within the right of way, so we don't have to, I mean, we could spend a lot of time, money, and energy trying to get them to dedicate right away and get appraisals and get no response. And, you know, I don't disagree with Patrick's position, but just option one is we can get it done within our right of way and the pedestrian traffic ends at an imperfect location. Option two is this probably never gets resolved without spending a lot more money and a lot more time. So
We just into a legal battle too, if somebody right that sidewalk and drops into that hole.
yeah, if there's a big hole at this point, you'd be better off. I put it, you know, I'd be comfortable with you putting one, a sidewalk closed sign up. Second is if the and the sidewalk is on public right of way, I'm okay with you putting some transitional material in so it's not a big drop off, whether it's dirt or gravel or something.
Am I wrong? Isn't it a big drop off right now? Yeah, even dirt, yeah, I mean, would be better than the drop off. I think we had some cones up. I don't know if the cones are still there.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think they blew away or something. And so now, I don't know, it just, like every time I go there and I see it, it scares me.
I would suggest that you have a duty to do something. So one of the issues you get into with sidewalks and negligence is, you know, you have some duty to make, to be reasonably aware of dangerous conditions in the sidewalks. And if you have displacement of squares, or if you have a significant change in elevation, that is, you know, a slip, trip, and fall hazard for which you could bear liability despite limitations imposed through our tort liability through our tort liability protection, tort immunity. So yeah, I'd suggest you put dirt or gravel or extend the sidewalk, do something to ease the transition. So it's, you know, so it's not a trip hazard.
But he said dirt, like a pile of dirt would be great. Don't even like try to make it flat, just a big pile of dirt, just like dump a truck there. And then you at least hit that, and that would stop you. I don't know, it don't have to look pretty.
Person bike frame.
So why don't, as I work on the trimmer crosswalk, I just cut the curb and finish that out and dump it out into the drive. And even though that's not ideal with what Patrick advised to us, that resolves that.
I mean, that's where everybody anyway right
Goes.
now is entering into, and we haven't had any issues, so.
I'll just do that, but in the meantime, I'll put a barricade, something that you have to manipulate yourself around the hazard.
Is there still like the asphalt stuff behind the fire
Yep.
station?
Yep.
That, you just still have that?
Danny, is there a retaining wall there that goes that far north on the?
No, the retaining wall's not in the way of
Okay.
continuing that. No, that's
Hey,
fine.
Denny, can you hear me? I was just wondering, what if the village was planning on continuing that sidewalk to the west anyhow? and picking it up on the other side of the driveway in front of Dollar General, wouldn't we just continue right on through there anyhow?
Yes,
So that property out front,
He froze.
it would be owned by us, wouldn't it?
it's the county highway department's, right away, but
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering if we were to continue that sidewalk for any reason, we'd just continue it anyhow, so.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm all for connecting it and cutting that curb out.
we can do it.
Unexpected solution, great. Now I have one other item, I'm past my 5 minutes, will you grant me this time?
Yeah.
Okay. This is an old issue, it's from when I was trustee. The house at Chestnut and McLean, that we had a signed agreement with, that they would move all of their recreational items back behind their fence. They're starting to accumulate, once again, more things this side of the fence. I would like to bring that to the board's attention so that you could maybe take some steps, because, like I said, for a while there, it was just a picnic table. Then it was, well, the shed. Now it's the picnic table in the shed, and the other day I walked by and there were once again cans of different paints and stuff out. Now there's some other stuff accumulating, and it's like they're getting into the hazardous territory again. So if you could request a visit perhaps by the police department?
We will, give that some attention.
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Okay. Who's next on the list?
Peter?
Good evening. I'm Peter Yorty. I'm the brother of Mark Yorty, if you knew the gentleman and his wife used to run Children's Door Service. And anyhow, I am pastoring over there at the Hudson Baptist Church right now. And I would like to find out if there's any hoops that we need to jump through, because we're hoping to plan on having an old-fashioned cruise in at the church next fall. Figured we'd do it a little ahead of time so we knew if there's any hoops we need to jump through, and if we're allowed to do that on the church property, or what else will we need to do with it. So I'd kind of like to know if there's anything we need to jump through or anything like that.
What's a cruise in?
A cruise in is like bringing your car, if you've got an old car or a new car or something nice that you want to share. And we kind of block off little areas and let each one of them park and have their car there, and do that kind of thing, and maybe even offer a few little prizes for them and things like that. Maybe even have some food to give out or to sell or whatever, donations, that kind of thing. We're also starting to revamp the stained glass windows on the building, because they're getting pretty weathered and need to be worked up. In fact, I'm going to try to get an article in the Quill soon. Anyhow, we're trying to raise some money to do that, because those cost a lot of money to get done, and we're doing the volunteer work to reglaze them, but that will only hold for so long. So, and we kind of wanted to bring some more traffic into the community and tell everybody we're there, and make it something for everybody, families and people to come in. So just needed to know if we need to do anything, any hoops we need to jump through. Figured we'd start now.
I'm not aware of one, but I'd like to have a meeting with Danny, our zoning person, and with Chief Cotty to cover what you plan to do, find out how big the crowd is, that type of thing.
This is our first time, so we don't know at this point. We could have 4 or 5, we could have 40 or 50 or more.
So
So
will you leave me your email address or put it on the
Sure.
sign-up sheet?
in fact, do you want it now?
And that would be fine.
My email is Pastor Pete
Also, be write it down, I'm having trouble here.
Yep.
@gmail.com. You can email me. I don't get it every single day, but once or twice a week I get it at the library. So it's much easier than paying for it. So
Okay, I think it sounds like a great event, so.
It'd be
we'll
something
glad to
good for
work with you
everybody.
on it, and we'll be glad to do that.
fantastic. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Abigail Michaels.
Hi. I'm just here because I applied for a variance to put a shed in my backyard. And I was hoping there was a decision that was come due. That's what I'm here for today.
We will be voting on that here in the next few minutes.
Is there anyone else on the list? Okay, if not, the citizens hearing portion of our meeting is complete. Next item on the agenda is reports from me. First item is the sewer study status. I checked and we did, Sarah said we did get our $10,000 remittance from the state. So we finally got that squared away and cleared. I sent a draft of the funding request to all the trustees, and I heard from a couple of you. If any of you else have other feedback, let me know. I'm working with Ray LaHood's office, or not Ray, LaHood's office right now to meet with them to make sure that what I'm gonna request is in the right format and has all the information they need. I'm also working with Illinois EPA to get current loan rates for 20 or 30-year loans and to make sure that everything in financial wise is correct when I submit the request. That's the status of the sewer projects. At last month's meeting, I brought up the Bloomington Normal Economic Development Council funding request, and we had been doing $350 a year for a number of years. Did $500 a year for our last commitment, and they would like us to commit more. We talked about that, and I think our agreement was that we wanted to keep it at the $500 we have been doing. I would like to put that in a vote form, so we can go ahead and write that check to them. And I will let them know that's what we're gonna be doing, that we will not be increasing our contribution. So if somebody would be willing to make a motion to that.
I'll make a motion to donate $500 to the Bloomington Normal Economic Development Corporation. I guess it's a donate. I don't know if that's the wrong word.
That's contribution, donation,
Okay.
contribution would be better.
$500 contribution to BNEDC.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any final discussion or questions?
I'm just wondering, what did we get out of that? I mean, I know it's a Bloomington Normal Economic Development.
Right. This
So I mean,
is,
is there anything that they present to us or they show us or, I'm not sure how that works.
they have come out once, were meeting with me. They have gone to the McLean County Mayor's Group and done meetings with them. They will come and meet with us if we wanted to. The main benefits are for the entire county, not just Bloomington Normal. When they bring in a big business like Ferrero's or Grant Industries, they're hiring people not just from Bloomington Normal, but from all over the county and outside the county. So the benefits are indirect to us.
Aren't these the folks that did the one voice vote to one, aren't these the guys?
Yes, this is the group that.
So they went to
organized
Washington
the one
DC,
voice
kind of lobbied for money.
Oh, for
Stuff.
this, for that,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, they were included, okay.
They organized that.
Good, thank you, Dave. Sorry, I
Okay.
left your hand in the right.
Yeah, they,
Thank you.
no, we're good. They have been. What's a good word for it? They haven't done as much with the small towns as what they want to do. But they have staffing issues also with limited budgets, so they haven't been everything they wanted to do. So, okay, we have a motion and a second to donate, not donate, contribute $500 to the BNEDC. Were there any other questions or discussion? Not Allison, roll call.
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kevin Kelly,
Yes.
Bill Morris,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Ashley Richard.
Yes.
Ally Shoemaker.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item, vote on Halloween will come up under the public property discussions. I got contacted by Barbie Emmert on our quote payment, and I said we have to have it on the agenda to be able to vote on it, so we won't be able to vote on it tonight. However, I did tell her we're trying to make sure it got on the agenda next month, so we can vote on it and get that paid for the next 6 months. Did have a resignation submitted from the planning commission. Patrick Lindley has had some other time-consuming issues pop up and will not be able to participate on the planning commission, so we are down to 4. If any of the trustees or anyone here has any suggestions on names to submit for the planning commission, please let me know. We'll work with Ashley to get a fifth person on there so we're full strength. If you have any names, let us know. Next planning commission meeting will be in November on the 25th. And I do want to make a reminder to all of our citizens, we have a leash law that applies to both dogs and cats. If you let a dog or a cat out of your house, it needs to either be contained or on a leash. That includes cats. So it's just a reminder to our citizens, if they are unaware that the leash law applies to cats, they should now be aware of it, or they need to be aware of it. So same laws apply to dogs as they do, I'm sorry, cats as they do dogs. So if you let the cat run loose, please don't. All right, did anybody have any questions for me on any of those topics? Now we'll move on to water, public property, streets, and zoning superintendent Engel.
2.66 million for the month, 88,000 for the per day. Basically, 10% loss is what Sarah and I calculated. The times that we each read were kind of off quite a bit, so that number might be slightly different than that. Although we did do some flushing of the tile as we were working on it over by the daycare. The drain line from the stormwater drain line from Franklin Street up here in front of the PD, across over to Shiner Street and up to the elevator, that is all tied in and completed. Hopefully we'll be able to get back to finish the Front Street Lake, but right now we're almost to the point of, we're to the point on the one that started at the creek through the township, through Mr. Lair's property, behind the daycare along West Street, to the point finally of ordering that inlet and one last piece of pipe there. So that project is nearing an end as well. Me and Mark attended the water conference this last month and found out that there's some new Julie locating laws that are gonna increase some workload that we have to do with Julie locates. We're also have been building the bunker on the property that we just signed the lease with, so that we can move forward with storing some of our stuff there. Like to thank Aaron, fire chief, for inviting all of us to village staff to get some basic AED training today. So thank him for that. And then I got some, most importantly, got some great news from Phil today that he might be back in the golf cart before we know it. So I'll have my star helper back. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Danny. Is anyone have any questions for Danny? Like to see good progress on that tile work. Should help our drainage quite a bit. So. Okay, next the agendas are report from our village marshal, Chief Gotti.
All right, everybody should have a copy of my report. Again, top portion there is the hard statistics. Any questions on that, just let me know. See the meetings that I attended, the Road Chiefs meeting, our local training meeting, and then the Holly Jolly Christmas meeting, which was the first meeting for that event. If you happen to walk up to the police farm or drive by recently, you'll see that the painting is complete. So I think Vandegraff Painting did a great job with it. It looks really good. So now the police facility building should be done complete with all the maintenance that's required to keep the building with the new roof, the replacing of the rusty siding that we did, and now with the paint job. So we should be good to go for quite a few years with the police department. You can see all the training that I attended, mandated training by the state, both Chris and I, Officer Lane. We attended those courses there that you can see. We continue to do our stop sign details, our school bus stop enforcement, the radar details, north, south Broadway, east and west Franklin Street. The siren test today was activated by the county, not by me, for the first time in, well, probably the first time forever, actually, because I never had the ability to do it. But we finally working with them, we finally got that accomplished. So they actually activated at their EMA center in the Law and Justice Center. So the plan going forward by the EMA coordinator for the county, Kathy Beck, is that she will be setting off the sirens on a monthly basis, not myself, except for twice a year, we will step in just to test our radios to make sure that they do work. I just coordinate with her when I'm going to set them off so that she doesn't try to set them off at the same time. But they all work. Of course, the one at Lake Bloomington is working now too. So all 4 sirens. You can see we only took 1 criminal report last month. It was a credit card fraud report. We continue our extra patrols at the parks. I do want to remind residents that the official trick or treat hours are 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Halloween night. That's the official hours. We will be participating in the annual trunk or treat. The Hudson Police Department will. And that's Saturday, October 26th from 3 p.m. until 5 p.m. And then also you see my street light report. It's the same 5 from last month. So we continue to communicate with Ameren about those 5 street lights that are burned out. Any questions?
Are we having IT folks look into cameras at the park still? That's something that's still happening?
Yes.
Okay.
What they're going to do, Joe, is, well, first and foremost, now that we don't, after that storm, and it knocked out basically all of the cameras here, there's only 2 cameras left working in the facility here, complex. That would be replaced, but they can be replaced with different cameras and a higher quality type camera. They're also going to quote us and work on a quote to get cameras that we want up at the parks. Now, of course, we do have cameras up at Waller Park, but we need a different type, a higher quality camera for that. So they will be looking at the quotes for that, and they'll have it ready for the budget session.
Okay.
So that you can discuss it as a board as to how much it's going to be, what do you want to put up there, how you want to phase it in.
Along with that, Sarah, has our insurance been pretty good to work with as far as covering the lightning damage?
I've sent them another email, just waiting for him to get back to me, but they have not given us any trouble as far as saying no to anything. They just haven't finalized it yet. But they've not said no to any. It's been very simple to just send them what they need and then. So.
Okay. And Mark, I have a request for you to make as your EMA officer. Prepare something for the 12 for next month, so we can tell residents under what circumstances we would be setting off the storm sirens.
Okay.
I think there's been questions in the past as to when they would be set off or why they weren't set off in certain circumstances. And so
Sure.
we could put something in the quill that says, here's what our plans are. I think that'd be good.
Okay.
And the fact that the county can now set them off if Hudson EMA is not available,
Correct.
include that in it.
Will do.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Chief Cotty? Okay, if not, we'll move on to reports of standing committees, finance, budget, contracts, and employees. Lynn?
Yeah, like I said earlier, the thing I'm working on right now is the possible sales tax increase. We are now before, because we're in our home rule municipality, if we wanted to increase sales tax, I would have to go through a referendum. With all the changes that is happening within the state, we can now go up to 1% without a referendum. So we are considering if this is something that would work for the village. We are, meeting with Dave, and we spoke to Kat. So now we're just kind of getting the numbers together of what that would look like projection wise. You know, if we went to 1%, what that would look like for the village. What do we need it? What are some possible things that we could utilize the extra funds for? And then when we have all that ready, we will present it to the board and then decide if it's something we want to pursue and possibly have public meetings about it, just so that we know this is what we plan on doing, kind of gauge thoughts on it, and then vote on it. So I may be reaching out to some of the different departments to see if there are any budgetary things that would be beneficial to having more consistent funds for as I'm working through.
All right, thank you, Lynn. Next on our list is Street Department Trustee Phil. Phil, glad to see you join us tonight, and it sounds like you're making positive progress.
Yeah, they're telling me, I think I'm gonna be coming home, possibly Saturday morning, so, yeah, I'm making great progress. So, I'm happy.
Good.
Okay, as far as business tonight, I really don't have anything, so. I didn't really talk to Denny, but I'm sure he would have brought something up if, we did. I think everything's running smooth.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Lynn or Phil? Now we'll move on to ordinance and zoning. Trustee Ashley?
Okay, so we had a zoning board of appeals meeting last night for the 210 Pheasant Lane property. And I'd actually like to have Richard come up and kind of explain the discussion from the meeting and their recommendation.
Yeah, as Ashley said, we had a request for a property at 210 Pheasant Lane to take the small shed that they have now and replace it with a larger shed. When we took it to the health department, the health department came back and said that that shed, that size was not going to be fitting within the zoning of what they request or what they require for the septic. And so they brought a variance to us. Abby was here last night, and she did a really good job, explained it. We had a pretty good discussion back and forth, and she answered the questions all that we had. Any kind of requirements and what their flexibility, everything was. So after that, we had just a general discussion amongst ourselves. Denny was there. We had numerous questions as far as the zoning. Likewise, Ashley was involved in those discussions about, setbacks and precedences and everything that we've come to recently to what we should consider as we go through looking at this. The code itself has 5 standards that we have to follow, and we have to meet every one of those 5 standards. And if we don't, then our charge is to not allow the variance to be. So as we went through there, when we voted on that, we were not able to answer yes to every one of those standards and every one of those requirements. So because of that, our recommendation is that we deny that that variance. We do have some other things that we can provide to Ashley as we move forward, depending on how the vote goes tonight. Might have any questions or need anything?
Are you able to say which of the 5 standards you were not able to say yes to?
Yes, I can tell you which ones that we did, sure. So the 5 standards that we are talking about is, one, that the special condition exists which are peculiar to this land or building in question, and that these conditions are not generally applicable to other property in the same zoning district. And to that, we were not able to say, yes, that's the case. Second one was that the literal interpretation of the requirements, per se, of what the health department provided and what the village has as far as requirements of this title would deprive the applicant from commonly enjoyed rights by others in the district, and we could not say yes for that one. And that granting this variation would not confer on the applicant special privileges that were not available to others in the same district. We could not say yes to that. And it was there was a good discussion, and a unanimous decision.
Richard, Ashley?
We did have a really good discussion. We do have some ideas that we can kind of talk about, depending on how this vote goes with you guys. So I would definitely like to talk to Abby afterwards as well. But I'd like to motion that we decline the variance based on the ZBA's ruling.
We have a motion to decline the ZBA variance request. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and second to deny the request. Is there any final questions or discussions? Not, Allison, roll call.
Joe Boyd,
Which way am I, if I say yes,
If
I
you say yes, you agree that we are declining the
Okay,
variance request.
yes,
Kevin Kelly,
Yes.
Bill Morris,
Yes.
Yeah.
Ashley Richard.
Yes.
Natalie Schumacher.
Yes.
Motion to decline the request is carried. Okay. Ashley, did you have anything else under zoning?
Just reiterating your point earlier, if you have any ideas for planning commission members, we are looking for a 5th member, so please let us know.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Ashley? Now we'll move on to police department, trustee Kevin.
I don't have anything tonight. Just want to thank Mark for getting the sirens working and getting those, it's nice to have all the sirens working and the county is able to set those off in case of an emergency. So just want to thank him for that.
Questions for Kevin? Now we'll move on to water department, trustee Joe. I don't have any questions for Joe. Now we'll move on to public property, trustee Natalie.
Quite a bit, actually. We just had a public property committee meeting right before this. We were able to cover a lot of topics. So the first one, Dave asked us to review a potential camping ordinance that he shared a sample of with. And so as a committee, we agree that we should move forward with establishing that ordinance. It essentially talks around the use of public property for campsites, specifically for those that do not have a permanent residence. And so it's not something we've encountered, but something that we want to kind of be prepared for. So my next steps were going to be to share the sample that you had with Pat and ask him to help us draft a final one that I'll share with everybody and then be able to vote on. Does anybody have questions on that or specific things you want me to make sure are included? No? Very great. The next one, I want to have a conversation about several community events we have coming up. So we know we have the trunk or treat, which they came and they had asked for a $250 donation, which I want to make sure we vote on tonight. We also have our Holly Jolly event in December, also be seeking a donation. And then I received information from the Hudson Women's Club that they would like to hold a concert in the park this summer. And so they were specifically asking if there were permits. They haven't asked for a donation of any kind, but I would hope that we can, even if it's not financially, help to support the program they have going on. So Mark, I might get them in touch with you just about, I don't know how big of an event. They talked about like balloons and face paint, maybe some concessions and a band of some sort. It's the end of June, I believe is what they were looking at. There's all those things coming up. We had a good discussion in our committee meeting about the need to kind of streamline some of our donation requests. And so the topic of a donation request form where they're saying exactly what they're going to use it for, so that we aren't just giving money to groups and then not knowing what exactly where that's going. We would like for that to include like timelines as far as when it needs to be turned in order to be approved and voted on. And then we would also like to discuss a general cap for donations. I think right now, Trunk or Treat requested $250. Holly Jolly has requested $500 in the past. And so we had discussions around sticking with like a $250 kind of cap for each event. Now that we have multiple happening. And then if there was an event that needed more than that we could discuss individually. We also discussed that we would like this to be set up as a donation that is paid after the event or after the coordinators had paid for the initial investment. So like how it works with TIP funds where they would pay for it and bring in receipts and then we could help reimburse for the set amount that was approved instead of just writing a check specifically to the organization. I don't know what thoughts are on that. If anybody has any concerns, I could draft up a request form and then we could kind of all review that and give feedback as well.
Yeah, I wonder if we shouldn't have people specify exactly where the money goes. We had this problem last year with the Holly Jolly Fund.
Yeah.
I don't want there to be any question if the money we are donating gets donated to someone else.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to, I think for Trunk or Treat, I don't remember them asking for money for a specific item. They were just kind of asking for a $250 donation. And so I know that was a concern with Holly Jolly last year. I just want to make sure it's consistent across anybody who's requesting funds, that it is that we need to be paying for a specific thing. I think it could either be a receipt or if they had a larger $250 item that they needed, that we could pay directly to the vendor, but try to keep it from being just cash towards.
Doesn't it technically or legally have to be to a vendor? Is that what you were saying? To a vendor, we have to write it to a vendor, not
Yes,
just to the
but I don't
organization?
think that's what's happened in the past.
No.
Right.
That's what we need to.
I think that's what we
Right.
need to,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's legally required
okay.
or not,
That's it.
but I think that that would be the cleanest because
Yeah.
like Holly Jolly is raising money in order to provide a donation, which is great, but if they're also receiving donations, that gets messy.
One small just verbiage thing, and it might sound like it doesn't mean anything. And I appreciate the fact that in discussion, the terms are interchangeable. I always like to use the term grant when we talk about village giving money out to the organization, because it really is in the vein more of a grant than a donation. And if you drill into the technicalities, donations are frowned upon, grants are permitted. So, if we're making direct expenditure, that's distinct, but if we're going to give money to an organization, I'd like to use that grant terminology instead of donation.
Okay, I can definitely do that. Yeah, I'm thinking about, in our budget as well, we have a line item where we had kind of earmarked money for Holly Jolly. But now that we are having more events in the community, I want to make sure that we're able to take that money that's allocated and spend it amongst multiple places as well. Alright, let's see if that covered everything there. So then we do need to vote on the $250 towards trunk or treat, and I can help communicate with them and with Sarah as far as they, I believe, were already planning to spend that money. They knew that we wouldn't be able to get it to them until after today. So we would just need to make sure that they know where they can show us where the money's going or receipts or things like that. I'd like to make a motion to provide a grant to the trunk or treat organization of $250 for this year's events.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second to provide a grant of $250 to the trunk or treat event. Is there any final questions or discussions? Not Allison, roll call.
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kevin Kelly,
Yes.
Bill Morris,
Yes.
Yes.
Ashley Richard.
Yes.
Natalie Schumacher.
Yes. I think that covers everything as far as those events. The last one, which is kind of a bigger discussion we've been having for a couple months, is about the village taking over the coordination of the baseball program here in town. I've met with Deanne from the Lions Club, who gave me tons of information, was willing to share any resources that they had as far as their budget for that. And I sent, I believe, those two documents just at the end of this last meeting, right before this one. So you should have them in your emails about what it costs to run the program versus what they charge. We had talked with Sarah and Denny, were part of our meeting right before this, because a big concern of mine is that I don't want to add a large burden to their jobs every day as far as preparing for the games or the registration and the organization. And neither of them felt like this would be something that would impede any of their other work or make it extra hard. So they can feel free to join in that, what you feel about that. But I prepared a document that includes last year, what they charged. T-ball was $20, rookie ball was $30, and travel ball was $100 a piece. And they had multiple teams at each of those levels. In the information I shared, it included when practices start. So most of them are May to June. Travel ball is April through the end of May, or the end of June. And so the big piece that I wanted to focus on is what supports, in order to run the program, what supports would they need from the village to make that happen? A lot of the struggles that Deanne shared the Lions Club had was getting individuals who were able to do that after work or to come in and set things up, and the everyday portions of that. And so Denny felt like a lot of the field work is stuff we are already doing. We already maintain the fields. We line it, we run the scheduling of the ball diamonds and the concession stand. And so really adding this in would be a minor thing towards his everyday work with his team. The biggest thing would be, I think, Sarah's role probably, or someone in the office's role of taking in the registration, creating the teams, ordering t-shirts. Last year, it looked like the Lions Club ended up negative $700 into the program. So they helped to cover that cost with their own funds. However, we would like to look into getting sponsors again. That was something they said they hadn't done. They were doing prior to COVID, had kind of stopped doing that. But that there were multiple places in town who had already reached out to Deanne about potentially sponsoring next year. So we figured they have about 10 teams last year. If you ask for $100 from each of those sponsors, that would well cover the deficit that the teams had. Also, the Lions Club worked really hard to keep the registration fees down. And while our goal is not to make money, we also don't want to lose money in providing this service. So that's something that we could look at, as well as if raising them by even $10 would make a large dent in that information. The Lions Club has offered to donate all of the equipment that they have, except for the pitching machines, which they would be requesting $500 in return for those pitching machines. And so that would include, for sure, the catcher's gear, which is a larger expense for those travel teams that have to have that. And then Deanne was going to get kind of more of a list of what else is in the shed that she could include in that donation. And so we've had a lot of conversation about the pitching machines. Currently, those are only used for our rookie ball, and they're not required. It's just something that they've used. In the past, I believe they were originally purchased for the softball league. And then if we had an 8U travel team, those would also require these pitching machines. The pitching machines are, one is 6 to 7 years old, one is like 3 years old. And so as a committee, we discussed that we don't feel like we need that and that it's not something that we have worked into our budget to pay for on top of kind of taking over this program. And so we also looked at the purchase of a new one is about like $600 to $1,000. If we ever got to the point of needing one, we would prefer to purchase one that might be newer and have a warranty and things like that instead of taking on those. Those were those discussions. I don't know if anybody has questions, things they want to clear up about the program. The travel ball team, my husband in the past has been a coach and has attended the league commissioner meetings. And so we talked about Sarah or Denny joining with that too. So there was someone from the village who was helping to oversee that. But otherwise, all the coaches are volunteers. We have questions or concerns. I do feel like we have to kind of move on it soon if we're going to commit to doing this, because registration for the travel team usually starts in November, December. I don't know if this is something we have to vote on to do or something that we can just agree we're gonna take over the organization of this program. The other thing was insurance, and Sarah had looked into it and shared that we can just probably add that right in with our village insurance as an event that takes place.
I think it'd be a good idea to vote on it, just so we have clarity of what the village is assuming.
Okay, do we need to vote now? We can't vote now, though, probably. Do we have to wait till the next
Just
one?
have it on the agenda here,
We can vote on it, okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, so what are we voting on then? We're voting on Sarah spending time helping with this, answering phones and stuff? Is that what we're voting on?
Yeah, I think
We're not
we're,
spending any money or?
let me look at there would be upfront money, but I wouldn't be any money we would have to spend until registration comes in. So the things we'd be spending money on would be like the t-shirts, baseballs, umpire fees, lining the field. Some of those things we're already paying for, like lining the field, I believe. But did Lions go pay for that?
They
Did pay for that, okay.
We bought all the
We buy the
supplies.
marking
The
line
equipment.
and the equipment to use it.
Okay. So there would be fees, but we would be collecting registration fees before we would ever have to do that. So yeah, it would be a vote on assuming the responsibility of, or
Yeah.
of running the program.
So looking at what you sent, it's, it's gonna cost us under $1,000 or something. It's
Yeah.
not gonna destroy our budget.
No.
So we would be assuming coordination of the Hudson, in-town ball league for the younger kids and for the travel teams that the Lions Club has been associated with.
Mhm.
And along with that, we would be furnishing manpower to do all the coordination for that.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yep. Mhm.
So
So it's
the
gonna
cost for
cost-
the manpower before were all volunteer, just so everybody's aware of that, so.
Yeah, so the manpower that would be added would only be the field prep and then the work that Sarah or someone in the office would be doing as far as the organization.
Good. Who's gonna do all the coordination then?
That's what I'm saying, as far as the coordination and organization, that would be through Sarah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Which, I mean, that would be short
Sarah,
term,
you
that's
have
just
Yeah.
time- you
registration.
have time to take that on?
Yeah, I think between Carol and I in the front office, I think we can work together on that. And I mean, once registration is done and it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
Then I don't have to do anything more with it. It would be a pretty short window of extra.
And the travel league, the commissioners through that program organizes the schedule. We would just be in charge of getting the rosters prepared for those teams and then booking field time.
Anyways. in the
Yeah.
office, So.
Right, which is something that we already do.
Okay, trustees still comfortable with the scope of what we're taking on?
So I'd like to make a motion that we take on the coordination of the Hudson Youth Baseball Program or ball program.
So we have a motion to the village will assume coordination of the ball program, Lions Club runs. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Are there any final questions or discussion? Not, Allison, roll call vote.
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kevin Kelly,
Yes.
Bill Morris,
Yes,
Chris,
Yes.
Ashley Richard,
Yes.
Natalie Schumaker.
Yes. The last thing that came up in that conversation was about the shed that the Lions Club uses. That is, the village property shed and that we pay utilities on. A lot of it what's in there is baseball program related. However, we know they also store like their grills and a lot of other things that are used for community events. And so in talking with Denny, we were talking about the small garage that's connected to the concession stand and how it's really not big enough for some of the equipment that we put in there and makes things not as accessible as they could be. We'd like to move some of the baseball stuff into the shed and be able to put some of that larger equipment in the shed that the Lions Club uses. And so we are looking to have some conversations with Lions Club just about what else is in there and if we can figure out a way to share some space a little bit more in order to be able to house some long-term things in the other shed.
So everyone is aware the village bought that building for $1 under the condition that the Lions Club would move it. Used to set downtown here. The Lions Club would move it and maintain it. So the Lions Club paid for the pad and put it up and everything. The village does own it. And I don't know if
I think we
that's
paid
included
utilities.
with our insurance.
Yeah, we paid for the
The
insurance
building,
on it.
not the contents.
Yeah, the building, yes, just the building.
Right, the contents are all Lions Club. So,
Yeah, just having conversations about what, going through it, Dan said too, there's some stuff in there that hasn't been used in a really long time. And so working together to share that so everybody can have the space they need.
So I think we did a closure on that.
Yep.
That's good progress. Did you want to do anything with the holiday lighting donation?
I think that what I would like to do is to look at this request form and have a conversation with Bobby about what they would be seeking, and making sure he knows that it would have to be for specific items and that there would have to be receipts or payments directly to them. And so I'm comfortable having those conversations with him first and then have him ask for what it is he will need from us.
You'll probably have that on your agenda then again next month.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Natalie, do you have anything else?
No, I don't.
Anybody have any questions for Natalie?
That's all I got.
Great. Next on the agenda is liquor commissioner, which is me, and I do not have anything. Does anybody else have anything, topics for our meeting tonight? Not, do we have a motion to adjourn? Adjourn. Is that a motion? Motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I second.
Say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, meeting is adjourned. Thank